Hello and welcome to my seat by the fire for some slow stitching. I made a year ago this pencil case out of plain denim. It's a prototype. Used lace pockets on the inside. I carry my pencils for sketching in here. And I thought what I would do today is do some slow stitching on it and decorate it a bit. So I have, the first thing that I did was I took some plain fabric and I stamped them with Stays On black ink, just for a different effect. And then I've picked out of my bag of fabrics some neutrals. This one has a little bit of blue on it and some flowers, and this one has a tan, and I thought I'd use, this is some Tim Holtz, it's a ruler. So let's just see where I want to put these, or how I want to put them. Auditioning is a big part of what this is. Now I don't like this straight line, so for me straight lines are a problem. So if I take this over top, tilt this one this way and add the 14 there. And then if I add some decorative stitching, what do you think? Should I leave it like that? I think that's where I'm going to start. And I'm just going to open up the zipper and tack these on. Now when I sew this, I'm going to have to be very careful that I don't catch the pockets on the inside. So the first thing I'm going to do then is thread some needles and just whip stitch all of this on. So I finished doing, what I did was I went around all of the squares, as you can see. I decided to lift the corner of this square to cut this straight line. Then the next thing that I did off camera was I lifted the edges of these two pieces of fabric, and I, again, but using a deliberate whip stitch and the tan fabric, whip stitched this square down. And I lifted these two pieces of fabric so that my stitches would go underneath them and seem continuous, but yet I didn't have to do all of it. So I'm just going to put these down again. Now, one of the things that I have done that I don't like is I've created a straight line here. So I've got 5 pieces of fabric. I like uneven numbers. I don't want to add another piece of fabric. I may add lace here, or I may do some kind of embroidery on this side to break up this straight line. But before I do that, what I'm going to do using a darker blue yarn is I'm going to go in, and what I like to do so I don't have a lot of knots showing is I go from the outside I create a knot so I don't pull it through. And this needle is just about too small, but it'll work. Whoops, I usually put a knot in the end of my yarn, so I don't do exactly that, so just 1 minute. Sorry about that. So I'm going to do a seed stitch here because I want to showcase the stitching more than the fabric. I looked at maybe following this line, but it wasn't going to give me enough coverage of the block. So what I've done is, you can see that here's my knot. I'm going to do a few small back stitches here. And they will look like seed stitches, so I won't have to worry about them. I think I'll do 3. And then what'll happen is I will be able to go back in and cut that knot and bury the yarn. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my seed stitch, which is just a small random stitch going in different directions. So I'm going to cover this block in little seed stitches. A seed stitch can also be 2 stitches put side by side, but because I'm using a pearl cotton, which means it's a thicker yarn, I'm only going to do 1. So I'm going to leave you here, and I'm going to continue to do the seed stitches on this block. So I'm back, and I have done the seed stitch all around here. And the other thing that I've done is, this really bothers me, this straight line. So I found this piece of lace that I think looks really nice there, like that. And then I'm going to put a piece of lace here. So I think that's what it's going to look like. So now what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to try first off by going around this block and this block with white thread, doing a running chain stitch. So again, going in with a knotted, this is 2 strands of regular embroidery cotton. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do 2 little back stitches. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. This knot here is going to get in my way, so I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to get rid of this one and my tacking stitches. I at one time thought I would do a blanket stitch around this, but I like the frayed look, so I'm not going to get rid of that. I'm going to hopefully accentuate that by adding this stitch around it. Going into the corner. And I'm going to tack that down there, and then I'm going to come back up and do the next stitch. Turning my work this way. Now whoops, I don't want that to happen. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to continue all the way around this piece of white and this piece of white using this running chain stitch. And then I will come back and show you this is just a small project, but it's a nice way to make something that is utilitarian. I would say beautiful. So I will be back. So I have done the running chain stitch around both pieces of fabric, and now I am going to do a blanket stitch, or I've started a blanket stitch around the Tim Holtz piece of fabric, the number 14 and 15. I've also done a line of running stitch in the middle. Oops, sorry. And then when I'm done that, just so that you know what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and finish couching down this piece of lace and that piece of lace. And then this piece I think will be done. I might do a bit of, I've thought of going over where it says postcard with some black yarn, but I think it's going to stand out too much. So I'll finish doing the blanket stitch around this, and then I will couch down the two pieces of lace, and we'll see where we are at the end of that.